Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, taking a look at the IL-8. The IL-8 is a Tier 7 Russian ground attack aircraft, and it is one of two possible options when you want to upgrade out of the IL-2T. When you're going through the IL-2T, you'll know that there's two options. There's the IL-8 and the IL-10. Now, to break it down to basics, it's going to be that the IL-10 sacrifices a lot of its armor for increased speed, while the IL-8 retains it, but still has a relatively slow speed. Albeit faster than the IL-2T, it is still a pretty sluggish aircraft, and you'll find yourself looking at what you're looking at right here, which is the objective slowly approaching as you're moving forward. Couple of changes though. With the IL-10, you're going to get the option to upgrade to 4 23mm cannons. However, it's not an easy grind to get those 423s, and you'll find that your guns are relatively lacking early on. So you first get the option to upgrade your 23mm you start with. Once you've upgraded those, then you have to unlock the airframe upgrade, and only then do you have the option to unlock the other 23mm cannons in order to replace the 7.62 machine guns mounted on the wing. So it takes a little bit of time, but overall the damage output ends up being above what the IL-8's is, but bear in mind that the IL-8 eventually gets to upgrade to 45mm cannons. It'll only have two of them, but they'll be able to fire at a much greater range, which means you can do sniping shots like you're seeing here. Now these are only the 37mm, but the nice thing is they carry over from the IL-2T, so you do have that available to you. The other difference is the IL-10 is going to have the exact same bomb options that you had with the IL-2T, so no major upgrades there. Now you do, however, get upgraded rockets for both of these, and it's a significant damage increase. It's 1200 damage per rocket opposed to 900, which is what you saw in the IL-2T. But with the IL-8, you not only get those rockets, but you also get the option of equipping 6 of these smaller bombs. They're Fab 100s, and when you look at the overall damage characteristics or the amount of damage that they can output, you actually get more damage potential out of the 6 bombs than you do just the 2. Now here I'm going to show you guys, this is an Endelman. I figured I'd stop for a second. You angle up, you decrease your airspeed, and then you essentially do a stall roll in order to get your nose around faster. This is an Endelman. I've mentioned it before in some of my other videos. I just wanted to take a break here and note that's what I'm talking about, that ability to get over and onto the enemy. Now you can do it in faster fighters, but then you'd have to take the time to actually slow to a stall speed, and sometimes the aircraft doesn't behave the right way. It works really well with the ground attackers, and I've done it with the DOE 217 for my low altitude bombing runs. But I digress. Let's go back to the aircraft. Both aircraft also get upgraded tailgunners, which you're about to see demonstrated here, are 20mm cannons. That 20mm cannon is a massive boost, a lot higher chance to critical enemy components, take out engines, really damage aircraft, and that makes it very effective at being able to ward off any fighters that want to try and chase you down. Now, you're seeing one of the other weaknesses that the IL-8 has. The IL-8 has a lot of trouble engaging other aircraft at long range because those guns fire in a very laggy pattern. It's hard to pull lead with them, they're a little bit inaccurate, so they don't work really well for that purpose. But the IL-10 with 4 23mm guns has a relatively easy time shooting at other aircraft, in particular other GAs. So in a lot of ways, the great equalizer for the IL-8 is the fact that the IL-10 even exists. That aircraft took a lot of damage and he doesn't want to mess with us, so he's going to leave the area. Going back, So a lot of times what the problem I have with the IL-8 is that I'm oftentimes getting chased down by IL-10s, and if we're competing for the same objective, a lot of times I will have a heck of a time trying to take it. So it's a real problem. You'll have the same issue with German ground attackers, but the German ground attackers don't have nearly as much health. And the other problem that they're going to have is that you'll be able to capture zones much faster than them, while the gun output from the IL-10 is more than enough to be able to compensate for the lack of 2 bombs. So there's no real major change there. So that's kind of the downside of that. There's the power of those rockets and the help of a GA coming in. So all in all, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up which one you want to go for. What I've found is kind of a little bit of a deficiency is the IL-10 can manipulate the battlefield a lot better. You see how long it takes me to get across from one point to another. Now I'm lucky because all of these objectives are relatively clustered together, but on some of those maps where they're not together and they're kind of spaced out, you have a heck of a time trying to compete with an IL-10 who's going from objective to objective to objective, taking them with relative ease. So it's kind of a downside. So just bear that in mind, that the IL-8, I have a little bit of buyer's remorse for it, but in the end I think that I'll appreciate having it, because the second engine upgrade on this aircraft, which is the only engine upgrade you get, actually is the same top engine upgrade for the IL-220. So if you guys are working on the IL-220 the same time you're working on this, you're essentially going to be able to upgrade the engine for both off of one of these 2 airframes. So just something to bear in mind, that you definitely have that option, and it allowed me to be able to max out my IL-220 without having to grind 22,000 experience in a stock engine. So bear that in mind. Now, I mentioned it was hard to shoot other GAs, but you can do it, and we definitely made short work of that IL-8 there. And you saw how quickly I was able to flip a lot of these objectives, and I don't even have the upgraded gun yet. So once you get the upgraded gun, I think it'll be pretty significant. This is the upgraded engine. This is not the upgraded airframe. With the upgraded airframe and the set of skills, particularly the ones for increasing hit point pool, like Protection Expert, as well as having on here the equipment slots for reinforced airframe, and I can't remember the other one, and we'll show it after this. They give you the ability to increase your hit point pool, so it'll actually bump you up excuse me, to I think it's 1,500 hit points, so it's pretty significant and more than enough for what you're looking for. Yeah, the other nice thing about having 6 bombs is that you can be a little bit more indiscriminate with them. If you want to go and take out all the AA sites, you can do it pretty easily with this airframe. Now, I'm not racking up a lot of points in this particular match, but we did do decent enough, and I figured it would highlight some of the differences of the 2 airframes. You saw how slow this aircraft is and how similar it is to the IL-2T. It plays very much in the same way, but you're going to be going up against Tier 7 aircraft, which can be a little bit troublesome. I think you'll find that there's a lot of heavies out there that can chew you up pretty easily, but if you can drag an enemy away using your massive hit point pool, that 20mm cannon will make short work of those aircraft in most instances. So this is not the battle results screen we are looking for. Waves his hand, not the droids. But this is the IL-8 battle screen here. So you can see we did a significant amount of damage to ground targets, about 42,000. And that was a very short battle. So it's doing exactly what you were expecting. Improved covering, that was the other one. I also run concealment livery because I feel like that's necessary. You're seeing the potential damage output from getting the 40s. It's a significant increase and a massive increase in range. And here's what I was talking about, the difference between the bombs. If you're doing 2,100 per bomb for 6 of those compared to 4,400 for 2 Fab 250s, you can easily do the math and figure out that you have the potential of doing well over 12,000 opposed to doing 8,800, which is what the 2 Fabs will do. So combined you get more damage output, and here's the difference between the 2 different types of rockets from the IL-2T and what you get on the IL-8 as well as the IL-10. The differences in airspeed, you can see the max airspeed on this aircraft is 276 if I'm reading my screen correctly, which isn't too bad. But when you look at the IL-10, it's able to go about 334, but bear in mind that this is not taking into account the 6-mile-an-hour reduction for putting on bombs and the other 6-mile-an-hour reduction for putting on rockets. So take it with a grain of salt. It's about 320 something is going to be the 322 if I'm doing math. Am I doing math in public correctly? So just to give you an idea of what's available there. Now, something I wanted to highlight to everyone that hasn't looked at this, there is a way to set so that way you can do Alt as a toggle key, so that way you can get a lot of those information on what aircraft are around you by right-clicking on the actual alternative view function and clicking the press the key button, and that allows you to be able to just tap it opposed to having to just hold it down. Another thing you can do is if you guys want to have the pitch indicator on there, this is where you find that, as well as the altimeter, the airspeed indicator, as well as the bank indicator, which the bank indicator I find to be really handy when you're zoomed in, especially in a fighter, and you're not sure whether or not your wings are oriented correctly for a turn. So I prefer to have that oriented to the horizon opposed to the orientation of the aircrafts. That way I always know where the horizon is, and a little down arrow on that line is what's going to indicate that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Again, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, what you liked, what you didn't like, and I'll keep churning out the videos for you guys on a daily basis if I can manage it. Have a good one.